podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
How the heck are you? I'm going to start with a Twitter question, since that's something that we always do on this show.
All right.
It's from @office_monkey, who says, how have we spent our summers?
How have we spent our summers? Not watching Manchester United. Well, until the last couple of weeks, of course, with the pre-season tour. It's been all right. What have I been doing? I went to China for a very short period of time. I flew through a hurricane to get there. How brave I was. I watched a little bit of the Women's World Cup, not very much. Been watching some cricket. Other sports do exist, apparently.
Splitter,
I know. And I know, really what I've been doing is watching the clickbait articles that you've been posting on the summer transfer market over on Bleacher Report.
Not one clickbait article among them, thank you very much. I can't believe you've missed the main event, the Rantcast summer outing, where we went to Hyde Park to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
It was an interesting event, that. We haven't really talked that much since it happened. There were a lot of young people there who all seemed to be having a jolly good time.
Yeah, are you not a young person, Paul?
I don't think either of us could even remotely pass.
Yeah, it starts sounding a bit seedy when a couple of middle-aged guys go and hang out with 80,000 teenage girls.
But your wife was there, which kind of gives you a built-in respectability.
It does. Ish.
Yes. I watched some of the Gold Cup, not the Gold Cup, the Copa America. Watched some of the women.
Yep. Some of that was all right.
Cup. Yeah, I kind of really enjoyed Angel Di Maria's free-flowing performances at the beginning of that tournament, and then that all went a bit sour in retrospect. But yeah, it's been a lovely summer. I've enjoyed having a little break from the podcast. It's lovely to be back, but it does feel like a really long time since we've done one of these, so apologies for any ring rust that you may encounter over the next hour or so. It's been a pretty momentous summer in terms of the changes in personnel that have happened. I think when we convened at the end of last season and predicted some of the ins and outs, I'm fairly certain we didn't predict any of the people who are coming in that have come in.
No. Well, maybe Memphis, because that one had already happened.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, spot on with that one. No, I don't think we predicted Bastian Schweinsteiger. Certainly didn't predict Sergio Romero. Morgan Schneiderlin, there'd been some talk about that. I don't remember us actually talking about him or not. Maybe I said, or was this in another form of media, that I wasn't sure he was top 5 in the world material? Well, we did have that conversation.
We did.
Matteo Darmian, none of us predicted that one.
I'm so excited about Matteo Darmian. What a player. What a player he looks, Ed.
Yes, well, let's reserve judgment for the real thing. But he's had a very good pre-season. He seemed to have slotted into the side straight away. Although, some strange comments from Louis van Gaal midway through the tour that suggested he was only for the bench and Tony V was going to start the season at right back. Surely that cannot be the case.
I mean, I always thought that quote was taken a bit too literally. He was talking about needing 2 players for every position and said Darmian's come to play the second position for Antonio Valencia, meaning to be the second right back in the squad, not necessarily to be the second choice right back in the squad. And indeed, Van Gaal has confirmed that Darmian will start against Spurs as long as he's not injury free, and he was first choice in every game on tour. Valencia had a little injury, which was convenient because Darmian looks infinitely more of a right back than Antonio Valencia ever did.
Well, that's right, yeah. So why don't we start with a little conversation about those 5 signings, what we think about them, and then we can morph into the tour. I guess the biggest one of the summer, Memphis aside, Bastian Schweinsteiger. I was kind of surprised there was a certain amount of negativity in the social media sphere about this one. Why?
I have to say it was a lot from other fans of other teams rather than necessarily from United fans, what I saw from the negativity. It just goes back to it's a conversation that you and I have had. if they had signed Paul Scholes at the age of 31, if Paul Scholes had gone to Bayern Munich at the age of 31, nobody would have been upset about that, right? Apart from us. It's an immense signing. He's so amazing. There is the injury problem, and I think that is the one caveat. Not his age, really, because he's still got plenty of years ahead of him playing the style that he does. This is not a Van Persie situation where, there's likely to be a rapid decline unless something physically changes. But he has missed 50 games through injury over the past 2 seasons.
Yes. He's also played 80 odd, so it's not as if he doesn't play at all. So, look, if they can fix the minor problem he's got now, which I don't think is with his knee anyway, so he'll be all right. There's nothing in his history before those last 2 seasons that says that he's long-term crocked or susceptible to injury. He's, of course, getting on, and that's just what happens. So, Van Gaal now has 3 players he can play in that kind of defensive role, or 4 if you count Blint, although I'm not sure some of his performances last season in that role really make him count as a defensive midfielder, but he's got Carrick, Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin and Blint. Plenty of cover in those defensive positions. He played 2 in every single game on tour, although he has kind of confirmed that United will be playing a 4-3-3, which of course they didn't in any of the games on tour. But to get back to the point, Schweinsteiger can fit into any of those systems. He can play box to box. He can hold. He's going to be an excellent addition to United's squad, however many games he plays. He's got that kind of leadership thing that you feel the squad really lacks. Rooney said it himself. He said he'd already been talking to the young kids and helping them along, and it was clear that he was a real leader. And he speaks great English as well, which is very useful.
You could see it within 2 minutes of the start of the second half of the game against Club America, when it was basically Schweinsteiger and the kids, right? It was like me and you at that Taylor Swift concert. Schweinsteiger in the heart of that midfield, surrounded by teenagers, and he was just straight away telling them, directing them. He kind of pointed something out to Lindegaard early. He just carries himself with such an aura, and he looks so happy to be here. Like, every photo of him beaming from ear to ear, just absolutely delighted to be a Man United player, which is
right.
It's just it's what a contrast to Angel Di Maria at the beginning of last year, kind of so regretful about having left Real Madrid.
Right, yeah. No, he does seem, again, a bit like you and me at the Taylor Swift concert, directing the teenagers, telling them what to do, and delighted to be doing it as well. So, yeah, no, it's great. He'd told Bayern he wanted to leave, he wanted a new challenge. He's come to United for, I suppose you'd say £15 million or something like that is an awful lot of money for a 31-year-old, but in the market as it is, with the amount of money that's available to English teams, I suppose it's a kind of mid-priced capture. He's going to give United 3 very good seasons, I'm sure, maybe more. I'm sure as long as he stays fit enough, it's going to be a really crucial part of United's squad. Suddenly we go from complaining about United's central midfield for year upon year. We rebroadcast some old rankcasts over the summer, and one of them was 5 years old, and we were moaning about central midfield, and we didn't stop for the next 5 years. And now there's 8 players who could play in a central midfield role.
And a lot of them are very good. There's at least 4 of them who you'd be totally happy to have in there.
Some very good players, and Marouane Fellaini.
Bless him. Marouane back up to Wayne Rooney Fellaini, as he is officially known this season. We'll come on to that whole situation. We'll talk tactics and we'll talk squad depth and all that sort of thing as we go through. But let's talk about another signing, like 10 out of 10 signing for me, Schweinsteiger. There's no downside. It's A+++++ in the kind of signing column. Morgan Schneiderlin, I think, is a very good signing. You've not been so hot on him, but I think he's really good. That's my take on. That's my nuanced take on Schneiderlin. His hashtag numbers are amazing. Like, his passing, his Carrick level accuracy, his range of passing's good. He's quite creative with his passing too. Like, he's less conservative than Carrick with his passing in general, and he loves to stick a tackle in. He
does. He gets very good numbers on the tackles. We will see where Schneiderlin goes in terms of his real quality, because the big test will be if United get through into the Champions League, likely to come up against another very big European side given the seeding situation, and those will be the kind of games that really, mark Schneiderlin out as a good player or a very good player. So those and the top games against the top teams, and we've not had that yet, right? So it's a little hard to say they can definitely do that for United in the really big games. Of course, he had a very good season for Southampton last season. Really, my only quip about Schneiderlin was that I'm not sure that anyone would rank him in the top sort of handful in his position in the world. That said, having captured Schweinsteiger and have Carrick and Daley Blind, you've got a player here who's got plenty of energy. He's 25, 26, 25, right? So loads of legs, running for some of the older fellas. And I think in terms of the balance of the squad, it's going to prove a very good signing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a solid B, right? B to B plus for me, maybe even nudging up to an A minus, but we'll see.
So 10 out of 10 for Schweinsteiger and A minus for Schneiderlin. If United captured Messi, what would that be?
Oh,
you're getting into Spinal Tap areas here, aren't you?
Turn it up to 11, absolutely. I guess Schweinsteiger, the reason that he's like A plus for me is he fills a need that has been just a void that's been there for years on end. Like leadership in the centre of midfield. It's like quite an important concept in football, isn't it?
It is.
And we just haven't had any for absolutely ages. And now we've got one of the absolute best.
Right.
So it's a match made in heaven, potentially.
Of course, the consequence of Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin coming in, say that after a few pints, is that Ander Herrera seems to be frozen out again. It's hard to say that after 4 pre-season games, but he's not been starting those games, and it doesn't feel like he'll be starting against Spurs. Maybe Van Gaal will surprise us in a 4-3-3. I think Herrera's got more of an opportunity than if they play that 4-2-3-1, because there's really only one attacking spot there that Herrera could play. So we'll see. It's such a shame for a player who's, if this happens, if he is frozen out or gets less game time or spends much of the season on the bench, then it's such a shame for the player who was your player of the season last season.
Yeah, certainly the outfield player of the season, no question. The Herrera situation is interesting, and I think there has been the most remarkable collective freak out over the last sort of 72 hours, and Herrera's not starting in any of those pre-season games is problematic, and let's talk systems later in the show, but it is likely that it's going to be a while before he's regularly playing for United, but I'm going to be shocked if he's not absolutely banging the team pretty quickly.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it really does depend on the system, as you say. So if Memphis is going to play at number 10, then he's not getting in the side, Herrera. If Memphis plays in one of the wide areas, pushes Ashley Young out the side, for example, then Herrera's got an opportunity. And, that's it. Anyway, so we've got Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, we've talked about Darmian, we covered Memphis.
Let's do Darmian in detail.
All right.
Because we touched on Darmian, but I think this is this is the kind of signing, as has been pointed out in various places, that United don't make or haven't done in recent years. In recent years, United have not gambled on this sort of player. They have in fact waited until he goes to another club, proves himself, and then bought him for a fortune. That's what's kind of happened with the player who's done very well at Torino. In a way, Darmian is the smartest right back target on the market this summer, as far as I can tell from the relatively little amount I know about these things. There's not a more nuanced and intelligent decision we could have made than signing Matteo Darmian for that right back spot. He's a defender first, as Van Gaal pointed out at his introductory press conference, but he's no slouch getting forward. He'll definitely bomb down the wing, and he played wing back a lot for Torino last season.
He did, and he can play on either side. Van Gaal was very happy about the fact that he can play right and left. Although, I guess, given Luke Shaw's return to fitness, went away to a fitness training camp in Dubai over the summer, and Van Gaal's called out Luke Shaw as a potential to have a great season. So I guess Darmian won't be needed there, but he can if we need him. But I think you're right. It looks like a very smart piece of business from United. He's just the right age. He's an Italian international. I mean, people expressing doubts. You don't normally get 15 caps for Italy when you're not at one of the really big clubs if you're not a good player. I think we spoke over some of the few occasions on which I'd seen him before. He looked like a more defensive-minded defender to me, just like, cursory look. But his stats don't look like that at all, right? If you just look at the numbers, he puts in a hell of a lot of crosses, gets a decent amount of assists, and scores goals too. So I think all round he'll fit into Van Gaal's philosophy. He works hard for the team. He gets forward and back, loads of energy from that right-sided defensive play position. I think he's going to be a very good purchase for United.
Yeah, and I think he'll play a lot of games, barring injury. I think he'll be first choice at right-back all season. That's my suspicion about that, because I don't think, unless his form dramatically drops, I don't think Valencia's got what it takes to kind of overtake him in the pecking order, really. So, yeah, I think that's a fantastic signing. We signed Sergio Romero in the middle of the night. That's what happened. It was, they're all in America, and they did the announcement in the middle of the night, and kind of lots of people in this country woke up to it. The Man United Twitter account saying, if you missed it in the middle of the night, we signed Sergio Romero, like literally under the cover of darkness. I have forgotten that happened so many times since then. When you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, I'd forgotten. And then I was slightly surprised when you said the 5 signings we'd made, because I forgot again. He's obviously not been brought in as a replacement for De Gea, but a replacement for Victor Valdez, who Louis van Gaal spectacularly threw under the bus in the summer.
Wow. I mean, threw under the bus and then reversed over him. Man, he just destroyed him.
He did. He does not work to our philosophy.
Yeah. Valdez is out of the club having played 1 game.
Yeah. The amazing tweet, the tweet of the summer, Valdez's ... #respect of just the pictures of the under-21s games he played. Presumably Van Gaal also asked him to play other under-21s games, which he was not so keen on playing in.
Yes, apparently so. Yeah, well, Victor Valdez has not moved yet, so he's still a United player because he's got another year left on his contract. I wonder if Ed Woodward will try and squeeze a fee out of that one.
Him and Anders Lindegaard just hanging out together,
picking their noses.
Yeah, he posted a selfie of himself in the Old Trafford dressing room the other day. Just like, yeah, come on, you Reds.
Was he on the club tour?
No, he was not on the club tour.
Anyway, Sergio Romero, very strange one. I mean, he had a very good World Cup, didn't he, a couple of summers ago, or a summer ago. Feels like a couple of summers ago. But he's barely played any club football for 2 years. He was a substitute at Sampdoria all last season, and Monaco before that. So he just doesn't play any games.
Which is...
apart from international games.
Clearly okay, because he's not going to play any games for United, all being well.
He's certainly not. I mean, I guess he's career number 2.
I mean, this is classic Van Gaal, right? He knows him as a human being, and because Romero's background is at AZ Alkmaar, when he was Van Gaal's number 1 there. Basically the last time he was a number 1. Yeah, it's a kind of, you can't get too het up about a backup goalkeeper signing, can you?
No, and let's hope David De Gea's focus is back on track. Didn't quite look like it against Paris Saint-Germain, did it?
We'll come on to that.
So yeah, let's hope Romero doesn't have to play too often. I mean, look, it's really hard to make any kind of judgment about a player, honestly, because I don't watch a lot of Italian reserve football, because there isn't an Italian reserve league. But if there was, I wouldn't watch that either. I haven't seen a lot of him other than in the World Cup, in which he did all right. You know what? Mentally, I always assumed he was kind of short. He just doesn't look like he's got a lot of stature about him. Looked his stats up on Wikipedia. 6'3.5", very specific there.
That's quite tall. Do you think he went in and added the half himself when somebody
probably did?
6 foot? Yeah. He's had a lot of time on his hands, to be fair. There is an amazing video on YouTube of his most spectacular bloopers. It's quite long. There's quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sergio Romero, a signing for his human being qualities.
Interesting commentary about Sam Johnson, though, isn't it? Because actually, Johnston played more minutes than any other keeper on tour.
Yeah.
And
looked good too.
And did fine. Yeah, he did totally fine. And, he's a young keeper. Would it harm him any to be United's number 2? I guess Van Gaal doesn't have enough faith in him to do that. So looks like he's going to spend the season on loan at Preston North End.
Well, I mean, maybe he has too much faith in him to do that. And actually he perceives that Johnson needs to play regularly at a higher level than reserve level to develop.
It's a very long time since the keeper's come through United's youth team to make it into the first team. I mean, Gary Walsh did, but really he only played because of the European rule around a number of foreigners you could have. I remember that famous game. It was Gary Walsh who played at the Camp Nou when United lost 4-0.
Was it? Right.
I think so. Anyway, not a lot of keepers come through United's academy.
No, but, Sam Johnson is beloved at Preston as well because he was really important to them getting promoted last season. So he'll be loved if he goes back there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I now have an irrational hatred of Preston.
Why is that?
Because David Moyes on his podcast interview with... you've heard this one. Talks very glowingly about Preston and anything David Moyes likes.
That podcast was amazing. So there's this 2-part interview with Graham Hunter. The Graham Hunter podcast, which is extremely worth listening to if you like podcasts about football, which presumably you do. Demographically speaking, that seems likely. It's really good. There's a fantastic one with Gary Neville. There's a really enjoyable one with Jamie Carragher, who is...
I couldn't listen to that. I don't speak Dolphin.
It's really good. It's well worth a listen. A fantastic one with the comedian Kevin Bridges. I think that might even be my favourite one so far. But then there's this 2-parter with David Moyes, and the first part is all right. The first part is like, oh yeah, I remember David Moyes. He's a good football man. Then the second one, he starts talking about Man United. Just like all the hairs on the back of my neck standing up, my teeth set really on edge as he sort of like pretends he's taking responsibility while actually doing everything he possibly can to diffuse himself of responsibility.
Yeah, it's the bit where he's talking about Everton and having time to build and faith in young players. And yeah, we know where you're coming from, Dave. Just stay in Spain for a while, like a good long while, like 10, 15 years.
Listening back to the Rantcast rebroadcast about the end of the David Moyes era, never heard 2 people more giddy about someone getting sacked in all my life.
Well, the Rantcast broadcast about Alex Ferguson's final game, and we talked at length about David Moyes. Interestingly spot on, I thought, in our analysis of David Moyes' failings.
There was a bit, though, where I said I'm not going to turn on him if the results aren't good after 6 months, though. That was a bit upsetting. But in another one of the episodes, you called Yaya Toure average. So yeah, take everything we say in this episode with a healthy pinch of salt if you weren't already planning to.
So that's our summer signings.
There's been a lot of players out and all, hasn't there?
There has been a lot of players out. Robin van Persie has gone. Well, eventually.
That was weird,
very strange transfer. Unveiled to a hysterical crowd at Fenerbahce. And then someone realised they hadn't actually agreed a fee for him yet.
It's brilliant. But that's why Robin van Persie thanked Ed Woodward in his kind of announcement press conference, presumably, because Woodward was just like, yeah, don't worry about it, we'll sort out the fee. It's not going to be much. Just go and enjoy yourself kind of thing.
I don't know if he was a proper negotiator. He then turned around and said, £25 million.
Fenerbahce had already taken a Manchester United legend before that in Nani. Or more accurately, Fenerbahce had already taken a player who's had one good season at Manchester United in Nani. And the crowd went absolutely nuts for the Nani announcement. I was just thinking, if they end up getting Van Persie, what are they going to do? Turns out, one of them's going to crowd surf at the airport.
Very nice, yeah. Good bunch, Fenerbahce.
Yeah, fantastic warm feelings around the club, which is why Van Gaal was happy that Van Persie had ended up there.
Do you think they'd take Fellaini?
I don't think we can afford to get rid of Fellaini at the moment, for reasons we'll come on to.
So, who else left? A bunch of kids. Anyone else important? Raphael hasn't left yet.
Johnny Evans.
Presumably he will do. Johnny Evans hasn't left yet. Presumably he will do. I know looks like Everton have some interest. I guess that depends on what happens with John Stones.
Tom Cleverley's signed for Everton.
He has, not Villa.
No. The Robin van Persie transfer, I mean, Nani, good luck to him. I don't think we need to cover that really. Although, what was interesting to me, writing something about Nani when he left, was that injury really scuppered him. Like, his real poor form, it started with an injury in 12-13, so he missed almost all of the 12-13 season, and then had to try and come back to fitness in that David Moyes season. So there is some mitigating circumstances that I hadn't really put into context. But he was frustrating when he was playing brilliantly, so, when he wasn't playing brilliantly, it was real bad. So Nani's gone. Good luck.
Yep, Angelo Henriquez has gone. Finally, He signed permanently for Dinamo Zagreb. Ben Amos has left, went to Bolton.
He took his time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Ben Amos is 25. Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's really... that's the same age as Schneiderlin.
Yep. Tom Thorpe left, went
that's...
to Rotherham. That's an interesting one. I think a lot of people thought he might get an opportunity at United, but he didn't.
And there's something interesting to me about the fact that it's Rotherham that he's gone to, and it's not like a Premier League club's gambled on him or anything. So that's a kind of interesting one. I wonder exactly why that is, that he's had to take a step down a level.
Yeah, well, because he's really not played any Premiership football yet. And then the bunch of loans, and then the other permanent one was Saidi Janko, who's gone to Celtic, which reminds me, I did promise Scott Zine 1,000 words analysis on Saidi Janko. Oh dear. Forgot about that.
Yes.
Oops. A good player, of course, United's reserve team player of the year a couple of seasons ago.
He was. A lot of kind of talk about him getting into the first team. But again, I think when fans as a collective are really hot on a player and then they get kind of stroppy that United let him go, I always am interested in what the destination club is, because when Paul Pogba left to go to Juventus, it's quite different from Saidi Janko going to Celtic, or even at a different level, Robin van Persie going to Fenerbahce. What do you think of the fact that we've got rid of Van Persie, Ed?
Well, I think, in truth, as we said at the podcast at the end of last season, it was probably the right time to let Robin van Persie go, wasn't it? Injuries had caught up with him, age had caught up with him. He just wasn't very sharp last season. He scored 10 goals. Felt like United needed some new blood up front, which, of course, United have, wait there, not got.
Yeah, I the more I thought about Van Persie, the more sad it made me. Just like when Falcao left, it wasn't Falcao leaving that was sad, it was the death of the dream of him one day coming good. And the idea that Van Persie could have another good season in him after that first season was such a dream. And I wrote a kind of, I don't know, basically just a love letter to him over the summer when I was asked to look at some of his highs and lows, and picked out a few lows over the last few seasons. But just looking back on that first season and it, literally not since Eric Cantona has a player made so much difference in his first season at United.
Right,
of course, yeah. Cantona transformed the club for decades to come. Van Persie didn't do that. But, you know, worth every single penny of the price of admission, the price of his salary over the subsequent 2 years as well, just for what he did in that first season.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, you know, if you were a bean counter at Old Trafford, you might not think it provided great value for money. I mean, no. £24 million transfer fee and, what was it, you know, near £10 million a season in wages. So that's like more than £50 million committed to Van Persie for one good season. Doesn't feel like great value for money, but, you know, hey, that was Ferguson's last season. It was a gift to Fergie.
Exactly. Well worth it for that. Yeah, that if ever you want to definitely win the league, that was the season to do it. So
it was. Anyway, final big name departure. You mentioned him already, Falcao. No surprises there. He's gone to Chelsea, though. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Bit annoying, frankly. Bit annoying. Seeing video of him saying, "I'm happy to be in Chelsea." And I was like, boo! I believed. What's he going to do at Chelsea? Like,
he's going to sit on the bench and hope Diego Costa gets injured.
But even if Diego Costa does get injured,
which is quite likely,
isn't Loic Remy like a better choice than Falcao now?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's very low risk for Chelsea. No fee involved. I mean, maybe there's a loan fee. Monaco have some FFP problems. They're desperate to get him off their wages, and Chelsea apparently did a deal on the wages as well. So very low risk for them, and maybe he'll do well, maybe he won't. Yeah,
we'll see. The two high profile departures which have not happened at the time we're recording this. Who knows? At least one of them probably has happened by the time you're listening to this. Let's start with Dave, because when we last convened to discuss these matters, I'm pretty sure both of us assumed by the time we next met to do it, there'd be a David De Gea-shaped hole at Manchester United, but he's still there, in body at least.
He is still there for a couple of reasons. One, United decided to play hardball, and so did Sergio Ramos over a contract with Real Madrid that he looks like he's going to sign. What a surprise that one was.
Well, no, apparently he's really annoyed with the stuff I've seen today. He's really annoyed with Marca for saying he's going to do a deal because no such thing has been agreed. So we'll see.
It's amazing, like commenting on the commentary from Marca. Yeah, yeah. We'll see with that one. He's certainly not signed for United. Real Madrid don't seem keen to lose him, at least. Let's say that. So United have played hardball with Dave, and he looks like he's going to stay for a season, you know. I guess he'll be off to Real Madrid next summer on a free, unless there's some drama. And then the second reason is that the first choice alternative, Hugo Lloris, broke a bone in his wrist and won't be ready for the new season anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be at all surprised if sometime in the next month it all kicks off and Ramos comes to United and De Gea goes to Madrid. I still think that's a definite possibility, although it is looking less likely than it did. But it seems that United can be taken at their word, or the stories coming out of United can be taken at their word, that they were only prepared to do a deal if there was a player involved as well, and weren't interested in a cash-only deal because they didn't feel like the cash would be useful enough to them, versus keeping De Gea for an extra year. Given the fact that the Euros are in 2016, I think everyone assumed that De Gea would be reasonably professional, although there's an interesting subplot in this, because I believe, my understanding is that the way you get cup tied from European competition is if you play in a qualifying round and your team makes it to the main tournament, then you're cup tied. But if your team is eliminated, you can play for another team in the competition, which does raise the interesting possibility if we play him in goal in the Champions League qualifier and he chucks a couple in the net to not get himself cup-tied.
Yeah, which he pretty much did the other night.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
It's a really shocking display that was, wasn't it? I mean, he's kind of short of match rhythm, as they say.
Yeah, I wonder how much that... I mean, yeah, fair enough. It's funny, at the start of last season, we spoke about David De Gea's focus not quite being there as well, didn't we? He didn't have a great start to the last campaign. Obviously, he had a brilliant 9/10 of the season. So, yeah, I'm not feeling like I want to rush to any judgment. If he does start at United, everyone says he's been totally professional, so he's going to have to wrap his head around it. Otherwise, he's going to have a crappy season.
Yeah, and he doesn't want that because it's the Euros and the Spain shirt is definitely up for grabs. And also, I don't think he wants that because it's not. I don't think he's leaving because he hates Man United or anything. He's not Angel Di Maria.
No, he's not. Another player who hasn't gone. At least hasn't actually been transferred out.
But presumably, where he actually is, he's not here. Is he with you?
I looked under the bed. He wasn't there.
Yep.
I think he's probably under a Buenos Aires-shaped bed.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing scenes. Van Gaal played this one quite smart, I think, because the vast majority of United fans seem to just think that Angel Di Maria is some sort of evil ne'er-do-well now. I feel like saying he doesn't know where he is quite smart PR, really, because it definitely makes it look like the player is kind of behaving as a rogue agent rather than someone leaving because they hate the manager or whatever.
Well, quite, yeah. I mean, I think up to the point that Di Maria went on strike, there was, which is pretty much what he's done, there was a kind of split view, wasn't there? And plenty of nuances in this debate, of course, around his form and the break-in and his mental state and Van Gaal's use of him. Some very loud critics in the media about how Van Gaal has used Di Maria and, he's kind of not got the best out of him and all of that kind of stuff. So up until that point, there was a more nuanced debate. When Di Maria decided to go on strike, then it kind of, that's all blown away, right? By the fact that he's just not able to be professional enough, even though it's, United seems to have decided that they will transfer him out. They're listening to him. They're going to take a substantial enough loss on the deal.
Kind of.
Ish, yeah. It depends whether you count it in pounds or actually in the currency they're spending, which is euros, and then it's not that big.
And also, even if you count it in pounds, if you amortise it, it's not an actual loss, is it? It's not a loss on the books.
No. It's not a loss on the books, and it's probably going to work out about 9 million euros worth of loss and nothing in the books. None of the accountants at Old Trafford will be too worried. It'll be used as a headline, of course. But anyway, the point is that that's the only thing we can think about now is Di Maria and his antics.
Yeah, which is it's kind of interesting. I mean, I definitely think that the blame for the Di Maria situation, excluding the last couple of weeks, is fairly evenly distributed. As you said, I think it's kind of a worry if we can't get the best out of Di Maria. That doesn't speak great about Van Gaal, but then Di Maria has demonstrated a kind of pretty terrible attitude. What's really interesting about this to me is it's actually really out of character for Di Maria to buckle under pressure, because his whole career is really filled with examples of people writing him off and him really fighting back. You know, anyone that comes from South America to Europe to play their football, this is quite a brave thing to do. You're leaving your home, it's thousands of miles away, etc. He was kind of regarded as too skinny and all that kind of stuff early in his career, but he fought that and grew into a really substantial player. And he was written off at Real Madrid and then left as the kind of man of the match in the Champions League final and a beloved hero of the fans at the club kind of thing. So he's a player who's like proved his kind of mental strength and determination time and again, but this one he just did not want it, and more than anything, it felt the conclusion that I would draw from the whole thing is just that he never really wanted to come to United. It was always second choice to Paris. Paris stayed in touch all the way through, and as soon as the FP thing kind of eased for them, that was it.
Yeah, and it sounds a fair analysis, yeah, and would explain a lot of the reasoning behind Van Gaal stripping him out of the side. You know, perhaps they were just better options. When it came to the really big games, the really big decisions, Van Gaal just didn't trust him enough, and maybe he had greater insight into the player than we understood at the time. You know, certainly the actions over the last couple of weeks kind of point to that, don't they? So I don't think there'll be too many tears. There are tears for the loss of talent. I mean, when Van Gaal talked the other day about needing more pace and penetration and creativity up front, which is, you know, there's still a gap there. And it's going to be a Di Maria-sized gap. And the sadness is that he never brought the best of Di Maria to United. And what a player he could have been for the club. It won't be. And when he's absolutely blazing in the Champions League next season and sticks a couple past United in the group stages, you know, it won't be good, will it?
It's not going to be fun. He's not going to get a good reception back at Old Trafford. I was kind of wondering how Falcao would be received, and I can't imagine he's going to get particularly booed or anything, because it's not like he's gone to City or Liverpool. It's only Chelsea. But Di Maria is just like, he's just made himself a Carlos Tevez level hate figure over the last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another player who's actually gone on strike while at United.
No, it's really remarkable. It's really been the whole thing's been very odd and slightly surprising situation. I don't think I ever would have expected to come to this. I really expected him to stay and fight. That was what I really expected him to do. Not based on nothing, but just based on that kind of a few quotes of his and his history of fighting back and making it. But I wonder whether, you know, A, maybe he's just had no interest in that, or B, maybe he had a conversation with Van Gaal about, look, where do you see me in the side next season? You know, it doesn't seem like that's the sort of thing that would have happened over the summer, but, you know.
Hey, if United are going to play a 4-3-3 this season, and you need an attacking player in that 4-3-3, Di Maria is your man.
Yeah, although I guess it's before. Let's just do some, since we're on transfers, let's do some transfer speculation now, because tell you who else is your man, especially if it's a Van Gaal 4-3-3, is Pedro.
Yeah. It kind of looks like it's going to happen. It seems to be the one that United have fixated on, just waiting for the Di Maria transfer to go through. He's got a reasonable buyout clause of £22 million. When is £22 million reasonable? When I'm searching down the back of my sofa, obviously, yeah. So, seems reasonable. It was a strange player, though, Pedro. I mean, you know, there's part of me just feels like, oh, really? You know, it is a step down in class, let's be honest. You know, it's nearly 4 years since his peak Pedro. He scored 45 goals in the 2009-10 and 10-11 seasons. Over those two campaigns, he was absolutely brilliant from the left side of a front three for that Barcelona side, you know, best side in Europe at the time. And it's not been the same since. And, you know, in many ways, he feels like a limited player. He's not technically brilliant. But he's got bags of pace. He scores goals. He gets into the right places. He's a system player. You know, he will play that system that Van Gaal wants to play. He'll stick on the wide left and he'll cut in and he'll score goals, right? So he will, I'm sure, if he comes to United, and it seems like he will do, I'm sure he'll do very well. He's not in the top 3 or 4 players in the world, far from it. He'll be an upgrade on Ashley Young, I guess.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you would have said about Alexis Sanchez all of those, or some of those very similar things, right? That he's not super elite. He's in that next level down. But he absolutely lit up the Premier League, didn't he?
Well, he did for 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, but, if we get 6 months like that out of Pedro, hopefully we've got the squad depth to kind of, one of the things that's interesting is that this is the area, and I wonder whether it's part of the reason why the club have been so prepared to let Di Maria go, is this is an area of the pitch where we're stocked with talent, with emerging talent, with a potentially very high upper ceiling on the level that they could get to. It's all unproven, and Di Maria is absolutely proven, although turns out not in the Premier League. But Januzaj, I don't think writing Januzaj off was a particularly good idea after one bad season. He's had a really good pre-season, and he was with Shaw on that kind of fitness mission over the summer. Shaw was kind of trying to lose weight, and Januzaj was trying to bulk up, apparently. Pereira has looked electric over the whole summer, not just the pre-season tour, but he's just had a brilliant summer. He was excellent at the Under-20s World Cup, and then really, really superb. The kind of the brightest talent in the young United firmament on that pre-season tour, and Memphis, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Pereira's been excellent on tour. It really feels like he's now an established part of the first team squad. His trouble is getting into the side. I mean, maybe there are more opportunities in wide areas than in central midfield. I don't think he's going to be given a run at number 10, and there won't be a number 10 if United play a 4-3-3. He can certainly play one of the wide spots in that attacking unit. He's very good coming off the left. Played quite a lot of games there for United. He's one of those players who likes to drift into a number of positions. So if United do lose Di Maria and didn't buy Pedro, he would probably get a decent amount of opportunities in the coming season. If they do buy Pedro, he's then competing with Memphis, Young, and Januzaj and Mata, of course, for those sort of wide positions.
Yeah, which is, that's just an example of how well stocked we are in those areas, isn't it? And that's the thing about those positions. None of them are of the proven class of Di Maria, of course, but as said previously, it's all very well to have proved your class, but he just didn't at United, did he? And I was really hopeful that he would in the season ahead. But that is almost certainly not going to happen now, isn't it? That'd be a hell of a turnaround. That'd be a Rooney the day after we recorded that podcast that one time level of turnaround.
Yeah, even more than that, I think. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. The other big hole in the squad, I guess, or transfer that hasn't happened, is a striker.
Oh, well, centre-back.
And a defender.
Yeah,
Well, so United will go into the season with one striker. I guess you'd call it three if you count Wilson and Hernandez, but, one senior striker that we sort of trust in Wayne Rooney. And, of course, Daley Blind spent, every single game on tour playing centre-half. A bit worrying, that one.
Van Gaal has confirmed that, barring injury, Blind will start at left centre-back against Tottenham as well. This isn't a fleeting experimentation. This is Van Gaal wanting a ball player first at the heart of defence. Slightly odd decision. I would have thought that... It's interesting that he wants a defender first at right-back, but a footballer first at centre-back. Kind of wonder... Isn't that meant to be the other way around? But Van Gaal's got some funny ideas, and his use of centre-backs is one of them. Yes,
definitely some funny ideas. I think Harry Kane versus Daley Blind ought to be interesting, both for pace and physical prowess. On the opening day of the season, I would be very tempted if I was an opposition manager to start targeting Daley Blind a little bit, So you've got three players in the back four there who are not good in the air, Blind, Shaw and Darmian.
Darmian's pretty good in the air. He's a big lad for a fullback, Darmian is. He's a tall lad for a fullback, at least.
He's a tall lad. I'm not sure he's good in the air.
But yeah, that's a slightly peculiar decision. And you wonder, okay, so left centre-back, looking at the squad, Marcus Rojo seems to be the natural fit for that position. Right centre-back, looking at the squad, Chris Smalling I would have thought have been in the pecking order ahead of Jones. Whether Van Gaal thinks Jones is somehow a better match for Blind in some way, or I don't know, but Jones done himself absolutely no favours in that game against Paris Saint-Germain, where he was at least half culpable for the first goal and basically entirely culpable for the second.
Yeah, I mean, he was spinning around in circles, left on very dizzy by Ibrahimovic, wasn't he? He didn't have a good tour, Jones, let's be honest. Darmian had a good tour and Shaw had a good tour, but I'm not sure the other centre backs did. So, yeah, a really odd one. I mean, if I was picking a back four right now, I'd have Rocco and Smalling in there. Of course, Rocco's not made it on tour either. Different problem there. Apparently didn't get his passport back in time from renewing his visa. But yeah, I'd go for Smalling and Rocco, a couple of proper defenders. But it looks like we're getting Blint and Jones. And yeah, it could be some fun and games there.
I bet Smalling will start with Blint. That's my bet on that, because I think he was very adamant about the other three positions in the back four, and he didn't say that Jones would start. And I just can't see him over the next week and a half going, no, you know what, I will start Phil Jones. Because you say he was left dizzy by Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which if you didn't see the tour game, probably makes you think Zlatan Ibrahimovic did something amazingly cool and, Zlatan-esque. But no, he just strolled in behind while Phil Jones totally ignored him. That was what actually happened. So yeah, I'd be surprised to see Jones in that starting 11. But I would have said I'd be surprised to see Blint in that starting 11 if Van Gaal hadn't said that's exactly what's going to happen. So it's kind of reassuring, really. It's kind of comforting and familiar in a sort of Alex Ferguson sort of a way that he's making a bunch of... Yeah, exactly. Super weird decisions.
I mean, it's Blint's the one that kind of worries me. I do think he's targetable. I mean, look, he's consistent, Blint. He's mediocre in every position he plays.
So harsh. So harsh.
Anyway, you know what? We haven't actually really talked about the summer. We kind of drips and drabs. I mean, the football wasn't great, was it? Club America, pretty dull game, that one. San Jose Earthquakes, better, although Van Gaal was pretty critical of some of his players after the game. Barcelona, now that was fun for 45 minutes, wasn't it? And then Paris Saint-Germain was not good.
The second 45. Well, okay, so I thought that there was loads of really nice football in among the dross. There was some brilliant interplay between Mata and Memphis, which got me really excited about the season ahead.
Yeah, they do feel like they've got a partnership.
They really do.
Probably won't play together. We're playing a 4-3-3.
Well, okay, but, yeah. So you've mentioned this 4-3-3 quite a few times, and a friend of the Rantcast, at Eddie Truly Reds, was the person that asked Van Gaal this question in the press conference. Really good question. There's loads of questions about, player transfers and stuff. It's really nice to ask the question that I wanted to hear answered, which was, what system are United going to play? And Van Gaal said, we're going to play a 4-3-3. And he said, as we have done last season. Which, that's the part that's interesting to me, because I can definitely imagine Van Gaal describing the formation that we played on tour as a 4-3-3. Even though it's a 4-2-3-1, as we would see it, or maybe a 4-4-1-1 even, if Young's on the left. Van Gaal also called Memphis a midfielder in that same answer. So actually, I'm not sure that in his mind, they're not just interchangeable descriptions, 4-3-3, one with two holding and one with one holding.
Yes, well, that's the big difference, isn't it? It's, yeah.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. But I don't know whether Van Gaal's necessarily committed to playing 4-3-3 with one holding and two going forward and, two left-sided attackers. Two wide attackers.
Yeah, we'll see. It will certainly be an interesting formation against Spurs. I mean, of course, in all honesty, I think about 9 or 10 of the players are definite starters. So we can almost pick the team right now. There's just a couple of positions. It's Schweinsteiger's fitness will decide whether he plays or not. And then it's that right centre-back. There's
a big discussion to be had on that. On the tour, every single game, same exact formation, hybrid 4-4-1-1 or 4-2-3-1, depending on what you want to call it. And really that's about the line of the wide players, right? Which one of those it is. Are they level with the number 10, which they are when we're in possession, or are they level with the central midfielders, which they drop back to when we're out of possession, particularly on the left-hand side? Mata was incredibly fluid from the right wing, coming in the whole time. And in the second half, we played with the kids, and Lingard, Pereira and Januzaj all kind of alternated number 10, wide left and wide right.
Yeah, you'd almost say the kids' team was the more exciting team.
Oh, without a doubt. Against Barcelona, the kids' team were just absolutely electric, weren't they?
And, the funny thing is they might not get that many games this season. We'll see. I really do hope Januzaj gets a game or two. From what Van Gaal said, it seems like he's going to be given an opportunity at number 9. rather than in one of the wide areas. He can play right across there because he played a lot of games at number 9 for the reserves, so it's certainly an area, a role he's played before. Pereira, we'll see. We spoke about him a little bit. Lingard, I can't imagine he's going to get a lot of football. I would assume he'll get a loan.
He's so good in pre-season. Again, like third pre-season on a trot that Lingard's been really special looking player. And he's getting up to the age where if it's not a Premier League loan, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Are we really going to loan him? Do we think he's going to develop enough in a season that he's going to then break into the United first team ahead of the other players we've got in that position next season? It's kind of interesting spot he's stuck in, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll make it at United. I think that's the answer, and he'll probably go out on loan somewhere.
Right, rather than be sold.
Yeah, or be sold.
Yeah, right, okay. The Club America game, there were some nice moments. The San Jose game, there were more nice moments. And that Barcelona game was just that the 2 goals scored by the kids were just totally breathtaking. I don't want to start the season on a massive, predictable note here, right? Maybe you could guess what's coming. But I'm a little bit worried about our centre-forward situation, and pre-season didn't really do too much to make me feel super comfortable with it. I think...
Let's just say he was feeling a bit rusty and relaxed from a nice summer away.
Okay.
Or he's just a bit shit. One of the two. Not sure. What do you reckon?
I think somewhere in the middle. It was hilarious watching Memphis Depay's next level mind-blowing first touch. Like Depay's first touch is like some elaborate trick with the ball quite often, and Rooney's first touch is still just is what it is. I think the general assumption is that you play Rooney up top all season, he'll get 20 goals. I am not totally convinced by that assumption, but I would be delighted to be proven wrong on the kind of slight doubt front. To me, his mobility doesn't look right and his first touch doesn't look right.
Well, his first touch hasn't looked right for 5 years, but yeah, he doesn't look very mobile. I mean, he needs a lot of games, really. So, look, up front, he could well get another 20 goals.
That'd be
across all competitions. I tell you what, I'd be happy to have a bet with anyone for £1 right now that he won't score 20 in the Premier League. He's only done that twice in his career. So, and both those times were when he stayed relatively injury-free and played at number 9 all season.
Well, I think the latter of those is definitely going to happen. If he plays, he's going to play at number 9 all season, isn't he? There's nowhere else for him in the squad, really. There's too many players everywhere else.
Yeah, right. And that's the right position. It's the only position, and it's where we'll get another season out of him. Of course, if he doesn't have a good season, then you've really got to say that there's not a lot left in Rooney. We'll see. He's played so long. He's played more than a decade in the Premier League now. And at such intensity in his style of play that you do start to think burnout is going to happen.
Yeah, but we've also been saying that for a couple of years, and it hasn't fully kicked in yet. So maybe he's got one more brilliant season out of him because, as you say, he's only scored 20 league goals twice in his career, but he's only played at number 9 for 2 seasons in his career, essentially. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that correlation. You make him the main goal threat, he'll still do it. But the last one of those was 3 years ago now, and that's a long time, right?
Right. So is Hernandez going to have a brilliant season?
Is Januzaj? I don't know. The number 9 sort of pecking order is really interesting. I mean, Van Gaal, obviously, because we were touring the tours in America, so he was asked about Hernandez in almost every press conference, and he said Hernandez has more chances this season because we don't have Van Persie and Falcao anymore. So he's basically intimating that they'll keep Hernandez. Fair enough. Will Hernandez be happy to play second fiddle for another season? He's done it for 3 years in a row now, so...
He's pretty much played second fiddle for his entire career. Really. So, if he wants to play every week, he's got to drop down a level. I think we all know that now. So it looks like United are going to keep him. It's his last year of the contract. I mean, who knows? I mean, a couple of seasons in a row, we've had sort of fireworks in the last couple of weeks of the transfer window, haven't we? Well, Fellaini.
And then some fireworks.
So let's not bet against it. I mean, once United have got rid of Di Maria and brought in Pedro, there's a net spend of what is it this summer? 50 million or so net. And you think there's some more left in the kitty?
Yeah, you would imagine so. The other thing when we're talking about strikers is I think Fellaini will play some games at number 9 this season. Definitely some halves of football at number 9. You look at the squad structure and you if you're going to keep Fellaini, there's no room for him in midfield anymore at all, basically. And we've completely obliterated the need for Fellaini in deep-lying midfield positions anyway. If he plays that 4-3-3... Fellaini's got to be down the pecking order for those advanced midfield roles because we've got so many good players in those roles now. And Schneiderlin specifically is like a fantastic Fellaini upgrade in that role because he does all the physical stuff, but is on a different level technically. And so the big lumping number 9.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll play him left wing and just hit those long crossfield balls. Stick Rooney in midfield again and off you go.
Yeah, maybe so.
God, won't that be great? We will not see a Rooney Hollywood ball this season.
It was so funny against Paris Saint-Germain. Driven to distraction by his team's inability to break down Paris' parked bus. About the 87-minute mark, Rooney just sprinted back to the halfway line and pinged a Hollywood ball to the right wing. It's almost like just desperate for that fix of that Hollywood ball. He played 4 full games without playing a single one, and you could see it physically hurting him by that point.
Very good. All right, so have we covered pre-season and transfers?
I think so.
I think we have. A couple of other things happened during the summer. There was a minor kerfuffle at FIFA HQ. I found this quite funny. Don't know about you.
Amazing that you picked, you'd already decided which Rantcast you were going to rebroadcast just because it was a nice round number and it was episode 50 and it was all about FIFA corruption and it was the week that it all kicked off.
Yeah, very amazing coincidence, yeah. There's just some classic stuff has happened here. Not only have the FBI acted and issued arrest warrants for sort of 7 FIFA executives stroke marketing company executives. Blatter sort of resigned or laid down his mandate at some point in the coming months. Looks like it's next February. It's a very long walk, long goodbye, isn't it? But it looks like there's going to be some significant change unless Michel Platini gets voted in, and then there really won't be.
Yeah, I mean, is the culture going to change with a change of personnel? That's the big question, really.
Well, it might do if the FBI are breathing down everyone's necks, because not really too many FIFA Exco members want to do 20 years in Sing Sing.
No, it's amazing that America just destroyed FIFA. It's just like, we don't like football, shut up. Except now they do like football, of course.
They do, they're crazy for it. And as soon as that one was worked out, the FBI swooped to save football. Or something like that. So that was quite funny. Yeah. I did think Blatter's press conference when he laid down his mandate was interesting. He looked sort of beaten as he wandered off into the light. Yeah,
but then he's still there. And he kind of at one point was talking about taking back his decision to resign. Which would be hilarious.
Well, if you're going to be a cynic, you'd say he's said that so he can go to the Exco General Assembly or whatever it's called next February, and the members will demand he stays.
You can imagine Blatter believing that to actually be a thing that might happen. Actually, you can believe that might be a thing that might actually happen. FIFA released a movie about themselves which grossed £20 and sixpence. No, but you haven't you?
I have, yeah. I mean, the hyperbole about how bad this film is not understated. So, I mean, it's a 90-minute, awfully scripted, terribly acted advert for FIFA in which Blatter plays the anti-corruption hero.
It's amazing.
You couldn't make this up, except somebody has.
Tim Roth.
You know what? After that, I felt like shooting him in the gut.
Yeah, enjoy that, Mr. Orange. Is it Mr. Orange? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the FIFA stuff happened. The America won the Women's World Cup. I really enjoyed the stuff of the Women's World Cup I saw, and there's been
some good stuff.
A huge boost in the popularity of women's football. Ticket sales are brisk for the start of the season. Just goes to show how important high-profile things are, and
Right. Yep.
maybe sometimes broadcasters have to be a little bit ahead of public demand. Have to kind of have a kind of mandate to generate some public demand and not just be reactive. And actually, maybe that's really awesome. So
Right, and during the World Cup, one of the best finishes of the whole summer came in that semi-final from the England defender into her own net.
Oh, I thought I was going to say, do you mean the final? Because there was literally a goal in a World Cup final scored from the halfway line. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Not as good as that toe poke in the semi.
Oh, so harsh. So harsh.
There you go. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it was a good summer. Like that 2-day spell when we bought all the players was very exciting, and I'm pretty confident we'll address that centre back position between now and the end of the transfer window. I'm still going to be surprised at this point if we don't, because although we've had a good transfer window, we've not bought anyone that Ed Woodward could get super excited about. Maybe Schweinsteiger a little bit, but you know, I feel like Woodward's not going to feel like his job's done, is he?
There's not a worldie in there yet.
No, I mean there is. Schweinsteiger is a worldie, but he's just a specific type of worldie, isn't he? He's not Thomas Müller. I just like the idea that every day he rings up Bayern going, 100 million and one? 100 million and two?
Well, I tell you what, it's extraordinary money, but Muller would come into the club as the club's best finisher, best passer, hardest worker, real leader. I mean, you know, there are some people on this planet who don't think he's a good player. There's something mentally wrong with them.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic player and would be an awesome acquisition for United. Can't see it happening.
Especially since they sold Schweinsteiger. They'd just be rioting in the streets of Munich if they sold both of them in the same summer.
They don't need the money.
No, exactly. But at some point, like Pep doesn't really like Müller, and they don't really get on very well, and Müller definitely doesn't really like Pep. So
yeah, but they're going to do a season, and Pep's off to City next season.
True.
So
that's true. It's true. So let's do some predictions. Let's lay a marker down. Let's make a bunch of mistakes about what's going to happen in the next 9 months. Who is going to win the English Premier League, Edward?
Oh dear, Norwich. No.
That's incorrect. That is
No, it could happen. It could happen. It couldn't happen. I think Chelsea will win the English Premier League. I think it's going to be much closer this season, though.
Yeah, I also think that Chelsea will win the league, probably. That's probably what I think will happen as well. But I think you're right. I think the top 4 are going to finish within 9 points of each other, probably. That's my guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say what is a good season for United. A good season is winning the league, of course.
Of course.
Definitely have to qualify for Europe.
Top 3, as Van Gaal said. Not
top
no,
3.
No qualifier.
I think in terms of points gap, maybe that's a better way of judging the gap. Maybe a 5-point gap to the eventual winners would be accepted. It just sounds wrong.
It does.
It just sounds wrong because the ambition for United has to be to win it, not only win it, but win it by as many points as possible. But I don't think it's going to happen. Then again, if United do buy a world-class central defender and a world-class forward, then you might say that the real title challenge is on.
I mean, if we buy a world-class centre-back and a world-class forward, the title challenge is definitely on. I just think it's very unlikely we're going to buy both of those things because I don't think the club's ready to move on from Rooney yet. And you can't buy a world-class forward right now unless you're deciding to bench or shift Rooney. You know, maybe you play 4-2-3-1 with Rooney at number 10 and play Memphis on the left and def off Young and all the kids. But that's the only other way it's going to work. So I think a world-class striker is just not on the docket.
I think you're right. Yep. So yep. I don't think United will win the league. I think sort of a 5-point gap would represent good progress.
I think you're absolutely right, and I definitely don't write off our chances of winning the league this season. I think we're way better placed to do it. Even if Di Maria goes, depending on who replaces him, maybe even if De Gea goes, so long as a centre back comes in. We're still net stronger than we were last season. Say like Silerson and Ramos come in and De Gea goes. I'm not necessarily sure we're too many points worse off this season than we were last, just from the defensive unit, because you've got the upgrade at right back. You've also got a kind of upgrade at left back if Shaw has worked on his fitness and kind of mentally handled the step up and is going to keep himself injury free a bit more. You've got a stronger back four then as a unit, so you can take the hit at goalkeeper, and especially since that back four is in.
Yeah, if they bring in a good goalkeeper. I mean, let's not get into a situation where we're in a sort of Tim Howard, Roy Carroll battle of mediocrity between Romero and Lindegaard. That would not be good.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I'm assuming like Cillessen or Lloris or someone of that level comes in. So yeah, who is going to be Manchester United's top scorer this season?
I don't know, Chris Smalling.
I quite like it.
It's got to be Rooney, otherwise United aren't finishing in the top three.
Quite like the idea of Memphis scoring 25 goals off the left wing, but I'm not sure it's going to happen.
I don't see it happening in England. Yeah, I'd be really surprised. I mean, I think he will get goals. If he gets double figures, that would be a good haul from him. And if he gets double figures and Mata gets double figures and Rooney gets 15 to 20, I think we'll be scoring more goals than we did last season.
Yeah, absolutely. At Machine Gun on Twitter says, given that Memphis is playing number 10, which he thinks is clever tactical planning by Van Gaal because it allows Memphis to be free from his defensive duties, but I'm not sure that his kind of lack of history at playing in that position isn't counting against him. But anyway, and that Adnan is now a striker, apparently. Do United need an extra winger? Do United need to bring in two more wingers? Or does Pereira take the fourth spot? I think Pereira takes it. And I think Pedro comes in and Young is used as cover. That's what I think.
Yeah, so I guess Pedro, Young, Januzaj, Pereira, Memphis represents plenty of options and talent in wide areas.
And Mata, because that's, that false right wing is here to stay by the looks of it.
Does look like it. And he's perfectly good when he can come in off that right wing into the number 10 slot. When he's not so good is when he's stuck out on the touchline, which has happened in some games and at some moments during the tour.
Yes, the Premier League's top scorer this season. I think it's difficult to look beyond Costa again, really.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess it depends on fitness with him, but I'm sure, if he stays fit, he's going to score a boatload of goals again.
And I'll go for Di Maria got most assists at United last season with 10 in the league, which is not a good number to be your biggest assist maker, really. Who do you reckon is going to have most assists by the end of this season?
Yeah, God, that's a tough one. I mean, Memphis doesn't actually clock up loads of assists if you look at him. Pedro won't either.
No. Mata might.
Mata might. He didn't get double figures last season though, so
he didn't. Only
maybe he will if he plays consistently in that role where he's getting into number 10. But I tell you one thing that's not going to happen this season. United are not going to be banging in crosses all the time.
No, absolutely. There's nobody really in the team that does that except for Ashley Young.
And he's a one-trick pony where he cuts in on his right foot and then curls it to the back post.
Not having that. He's a 1.3 trick pony, as discussed at length on the Rantcast last season. Third of the time he goes outside. Probably less than a third of the time. Anyway. Young's future somewhat under some scrutiny. He hasn't signed an extended contract. Another thing that happened in the summer, of course, was that both Smalling and Jones signed extended contracts.
They did. Jones repaying the faith with some outstanding performances in the summer.
Poor old Phil Jones. Isn't he good? He's not. I'm very confused about Phil Jones. I think I'm not very good at deciding whether centre-backs are good or not, basically.
I just think for someone who's got all the tools in the locker, if he could just stop being a total calamity, we'd be all right.
It would really help, wouldn't it? So, that's predictions on that. Who's going to win the Champions League this season?
It's hard to look beyond Barcelona just because they were so good and they won the treble last season. The thing is, no one ever retains the Champions League. So let's call it Real Madrid.
No, let's not call it Real Madrid.
Cristiano looks like he's going to play the season up front. Cristiano said, I demand to play the season up front. Watching
Real Madrid in pre-season was absolutely hilarious. Every time they cut to the touchline, I was just cracking up laughing. Just watch him. What have they done? Why would you do that?
So do you reckon it's November or October before the white hankies come out? I mean, it just seems like such an un-Real Madrid manager. I mean, I know he's got a history with the club and everything, Benitez, but when it comes to the pressure moments with Benitez, he goes defensive, and that's not going to be acceptable at Bernabeu.
Absolutely not. If he stays past January, I'll be somewhat surprised. But you never know. The player power at Madrid is such that he might just not be able to go defensive, and he's got such a kind of array of attacking talent there that even he surely won't think defensively. But you know, that's what Benitez does, isn't it? So you'd think that he would. Guardiola at Bayern, that's going to be kind of interesting. Presumably his last season there.
Yep, very, very good purchase in Vidal if they can keep him fit.
Yep.
A very good replacement for Schweinsteiger. Bought him for less money than United offered last summer.
Interesting one, that, isn't it? You wonder whether... Well, yeah, I've just no idea what that one was all about, really. Why they didn't take the money last summer. Maybe they just believed in the unit, and then this summer they've kind of upgraded in other areas. Looks like they've held on to Pogba. I mean, maybe it's too soon to say that, but he's still there for now, isn't he? So, you know. Yeah,
he is, much to Manchester City's chagrin, but I said that on a podcast.
City have spent £49 million on Raheem Sterling. I think that is an extremely good signing for them. I think that given that FFP doesn't really matter anymore and they've got unlimited money, so the actual value doesn't matter, he's really good, Raheem Sterling. Everyone's like, oh yeah, what a waste of money because he's kind of slightly gone off the boil at Liverpool. But Liverpool were terrible for most of last season. And
yeah, no, I think he's a very talented player who just needs to work on his finishing. But I mean, given he's scored a bagload of goals already for City in the summer, well, 3. It looks like maybe that'll work for him. I'm sure he'll have a very good time at City. So, unfortunately, yes, FFP apparently has collapsed, or at least they're not bothering to enforce it anymore.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Given that we want to spend all the money nowadays, though, maybe it'll work in our favour. You never know. Anyway, any other important predictions? Who's going to be United's player of the season then?
That's a tough one, isn't it? So
pretty sure we both said Di Maria last season.
Yeah, so that worked out well.
It's not going to be Di Maria.
It's going to be, you know what? Heart overhead is going to be Juan Mata. He's going to have a fantastic season. Maybe. Ish.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And heart overhead, that's who I'd go for. Maybe even heart overhead, I might go for Herrera, but I don't know. Maybe Bastian. Maybe this could be the season of course, Van Gaal, we know, has already said it shall be the season of Shaw, but we'll see about that one.
If your left back is your best player, then I'm not sure that's a good sign.
We've had 2 seasons of our goalie being our best player, so it would represent some degree of progress at this point. Blint at centre-back asks Jordan C. Peterson, brilliant or madness?
Madness. I mean, it's certainly going to help United's distribution from the back, which is, of course, Smalling's weakness. Not that Rojo is a bad passer or anything like that. He's pretty crisp with his passing. So United will play out for the back very nicely and play through midfield very nicely, and we'll have lots and lots of possession all of the time. It's just that ability for opposition players to target him that's the concern, really.
Yeah. At Yippers82 says, can I ask Ed to explain amortisation, clearly for people that don't get it, specifically regarding Angel Di Maria?
Yeah, it's easy. So you buy a player for £50 million on a 5-year contract. You write down the value of that £50 million over the length of the contract. So if he didn't sign another contract, he would be worth 0 on the books by the end of his 5-year contract.
Yeah, so thereby the amount that he was... The loss we're going to take on him is pretty much what would have been written off against his contract over the course of the past year.
Yeah, it depends whether you're an accountant or you're a football fan or a member of the Fourth Estate. Either way, who cares? I was going to say it's not our money. It's about 24% our money in terms of ticket sales, and most of the rest of the money is broadcast and sponsorship.
Yeah. At Anmol Bajaj 92 says, when will we stop being a tool for players to get better contracts?
Never.
Just included this question to tell you a funny story, really, which is that Schweinsteiger was on his way. He was on the plane. It hadn't been announced by the club, but it was at the kind of definitely happening stage. I texted an old work colleague of mine with like just Schweinsteiger in capital letters. And he just texted me back going, mate, I'm sick of this. He's never going to sign. We're just being used as a bargaining chip. I'm like, look. Here's an advert that Beats by Dre have put out about him moving to Manchester United. It's like, no, I'm not having it. I'm not having it until I see him wearing this shirt.
I mean, you can understand that one. Especially with Otamendi, who we talked about at the end of last season, and Nicolas Gaitan before that. Solid reports that United are seriously annoyed about being used.
Yes, absolutely. But, Otamendi has not signed a new contract at Valencia or anything like that, has he? He's, still apparently wants to leave. Who knows? So, do you think playing Memphis through the middle and Mata on the wing actually works or will ever work? Asks at Ander-esque. Yeah, totally. I think it's totally viable because Mata doesn't really play on the wing and actually comes in and links up really well with Memphis from what we've seen so far. I think that's a really viable option, and that Memphis's kind of trickery and running in the centre of the pitch is really useful there because it creates a whole bunch of space for other players potentially.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I would say that in some situations where you're facing a team where they close in the fullbacks and play a very narrow and deep back four, that's the wrong way round. And United will want to push Memphis wider there. We'll see. I think it's going to actually be quite easy to defend against United at times, given the balance of United's attack, and there's not much other option. Then again, there's plenty of talented players who can win a game with a piece of talent. But I do think we'll see that as a pattern this season. I think we'll see a lot of teams defending within their own 18-yard area.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened time and again, and that's the big thing we've got to work on, because that's the thing that United are vulnerable to. Now, hopefully, the fact that we're theoretically quite a lot less vulnerable on the counter-attack this season, given our midfield additions, might mean that teams are a bit more reluctant to try and do that against us. But if they're just coming to try and get a draw, they'll be happy to. At Nick McCory 85 asked a question which I think I'm only including because I feel like it captures a sentiment of a certain percentage of United fans. And it says, how did the transfer window start so well and looks to have ended so badly? And I just simply don't understand this. I think this is something to do with the kind of immediacy of popular culture nowadays, that it's like as soon as something's dropped out of people's minds, as soon as it's not present in front of them, it somehow diminishes in value, because I don't see how the transfer window has turned into a bad one. I think if we don't sign a centre-back, that's a big issue not addressed. But we were never going to get everything right this summer. We're never going to fix everything. And we fixed a lot more than I was expecting us to.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think it's because it's played out like a narrative now. You talk about races and, clubs competing for players and all of that. And, there's just so many column inches and blogs and websites and clickbait and all of that to fill, isn't there? That there's just a huge focus on it. I mean, the thing is, you do not win any trophies in the transfer market. No one's collecting a medal for biggest transfer of the summer or anything like that. And as we know, it goes right up to the window because everyone at the end of the window, because everyone is looking out for the best possible deal for their client or for their club or for themselves. So anyway, we'll see on the centre-back. It looks like it's definitely not Otamendi. He's not a Mendes client anyway, so, are we still friends with Mendes after Falcao and Di Maria and David De Gea?
Why is Otamendi not happening? Why do you think it's not happening?
Because the club keep briefing everyone that they're not interested.
Okay, maybe that's why then. Friend of the Rantcast, Liz Moore, at Liz Worsley, who's changed her name but not her Twitter handle yet. Congratulations, Liz. I hope you and Ben have many happy years together. Not at all bitter that you didn't invite me and Ed to the wedding. Your friend of the Rantcast status is not being revoked. Although there was discussion at a high level about that, but we've decided, especially since your mum invited me to the Scottish bit of the wedding, so that was nice. She asked, will we be buying the new kit? I am a 38-year-old man. I am not buying a football kit.
I have one football kit. It's my one from the 1999 Champions League final, and that's the one I will be sticking with. I'm a bit... I quite like the kit. I do quite like it. I like the classic three stripes. It feels nice and 80s, and I like the Adidas logo on there. There's two things I don't like about it. the Chevrolet logo.
Yeah, not nothing we could do about that.
You put that on a Gucci bag and it would look cheap, right? Not that I buy Gucci bags, but it's the first thing that came to mind. There's just something, I wish they'd just get rid of that nasty, cheap looking gold thing and just go with the letters.
Yeah, but
that would be nice.
It's not.
And the other thing I'm not sure about is the kind of the thick cuffs.
Yeah, the kind of cuffs
on the arm sleeves. Yeah. Not sure about those either.
Okay, I think it's nice. I think it's the nicest kit we've had for a really long time.
I do quite like the look of the third kit, this black one with sort of red stripes. Although I think the stripes should be white, just from a design aesthetic.
Interesting. You've thoughts and feelings about this subject. I just think it's been really entertaining watching all these kind of like gentlemen of a certain age from a certain cultural background being super excited about Adidas being back in town. It's like, it's got some very good associations.
Of course, as we speak, the kit hasn't actually been launched. So, we know none of this, of course.
Could look totally different.
It's the worst kept kit launch ever. They're building up to their huge launch and everyone's seen it for months.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an Adidas kit and they all do look kind of similar.
They do.
Although I like the colour on this one. It's a bit different, a bit of a kind of nod to the 80s and Manchester, I think. Anyway, that's enough fashion talk. I'm definitely not qualified for that conversation. What I might be qualified to do is guess the starting 11 against Spurs, because I think pretty much any of us could have a reasonable guess at it. So I'm going De Gea, Darmian, Blind, Smalling, Shaw. I'm going to guess, I think the one midfield position's up for grabs, but I'm going to guess Schweinsteiger, Carrick definitely in the other one, although I suspect this Mike Carrick's last season at United where he looks like a guaranteed starter, given his age and the kind of upgrades in that area we've made. Depay, Mata, Rooney, and in my Bleacher Report article I put Andreas Pereira, but I think actually it'll probably be Ashley Young.
It will definitely be Ashley Young. Yeah. The only question mark there for me is Schweinsteiger or Schneiderlin.
Yeah.
Because we're not quite sure about Schweinsteiger's fitness or match rhythm because he's not had much preparation time.
He did get 45 minutes against Paris Saint-Germain though, so that was something. So yeah, we'll see on that one. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Schneiderlin. I would be surprised if it's Herrera, which is a shame because it should be. It should be one of Carrick and Schweinsteiger with one of Schneiderlin and Herrera. Every time for me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely have Herrera in that side, and I'd be tempted to push Memphis into a slightly wider role. As a result.
Absolutely. Or I would just F off Carrick at this point because
you would just F off Carrick. Did you
Def
say?
Off Carrick.
Def off. Okay. I was going to say it's a bit harsh. I thought you were a Carrick fan.
I am.
I mean, there are many fans who've been saying F off Carrick for years.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not one of those. The Spurs game is going to be a very tricky tie. I mean, presumably we'll play an behind closed doors match between now and then. There's been
apparently
talk of that. But
they need it. 4 games doesn't feel like a lot.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because for years we've been talking about the players getting like burnt out by pre-season nonsense, and this season it was really well handled, all that stuff. But the real possibility of undercookedness for this game is it's there, isn't it? I mean, Rooney doesn't look ready. That's not a Rooney diss. That's Rooney doesn't look ready. Carrick doesn't look ready. Jones definitely didn't look ready, but De Gea didn't look ready. There's a good few of them, aren't there?
Yeah, there are a good few of them. Look, I thought the tour brought up quite a few questions, really, about tactics and who are the best players for the best positions and some of the holes in the squad and how much of an opportunity some of the younger players will get. Lots of positives came out of the tour, lots and lots of positives, and the fact that United didn't crisscross the continent for 4 weeks or something and do commercial work in the morning and the afternoon and then a light training session, was good, right? And that was all down to Van Gaal specifying the tour to the nth detail, even to the point that at the last minute United pulled out of a sold-out 70,000 capacity stadium and then played down the road at the 20,000 capacity stadium. It shows you how much control that Van Gaal now has. So much better from a tour and a logistical point of view, but definitely a few questions arising from the fact that a lot of players haven't had much game time.
Yeah, absolutely. That moving of the ground so the team didn't have to travel 45 extra minutes was pretty extraordinary, wasn't it? Was that was really heartening to see, and it was heartening to see the club give in to that demand. Really, it does demonstrate a tremendous faith in the manager. And Woodward did a little interview with MUTV where he talked about working with Van Gaal, and he clearly has great regard for him, and you can see why. And the players seem to have that regard too, at least the ones that are in the camp. Like, Schweinsteiger worked with Van Gaal before, and look how happy he is to be working with him again. So,
So, do you have a prediction for the Spurs game? What will Duncan Castles be writing in his headline come Sunday morning?
What's happened to him over this summer? He's taken it to a new level. He's always been there, but the Duncan Castle Man United campaign is in full effect at the moment, isn't it?
It is amusing to see. He's turned into a professional worm, which is a wind-up merchant for those not familiar with the term. Yeah, really, really odd how aggressive he's got with it. The oddest thing is there's plenty of that on the internet, right? But he does it in a national newspaper.
Yeah.
Behind a firewall as well, which is the other weird thing.
Yeah, you have to pay for that. I guess there are a degree of a percentage of the population would be delighted to pay for someone slating Manchester United on a professional basis. So, my prediction for the game is a draw?
No.
I don't know.
God, it's just so... I've always said this about you, Paul. You're just so negative.
I don't know. I just feel like Harry Kane against Daley Blind is not a good look.
No, it's not a good look. Then again, Spurs did lose to the MLS All-Stars the other night.
You know what? I am going to predict a win because there's no way Spurs are going to come and park the bus.
Flip-flopper. What a flip-flop.
It was...
Stay with your
No, it was an
convictions,
insta flip-flop because it suddenly occurred to me, wait a minute, lads, it's Spurs.
Yeah, exactly. United are going to win 3-2 is my prediction.
Oh, yes, come on. Adidas is back. High-scoring games against Tottenham are back. Football's back, baby.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, I don't know about you, Ed, but I'm delighted to be back doing the Rantcast. We're here for this season at least. Negotiations are ongoing about the future of the podcast, but...
It's like because we're in our 30s, we're always on a rolling one-year deal. Is that it?
Exactly.
Nah, we'll be around for a time to come.
All right. We did have a question about... two questions. One about mugs, which I'd mentioned in the summer.
We are, yes.
Yes, we are. Many people responded with that exact thing. I'm looking at it. I can't work out whether it's going to be feasible or not because obviously we're not going to sell millions of them or anything, but we might. People have seemed to want them, so we might try and work out a way of doing that. At me on Twitter with #YesMugs if you want to buy a mug off us. It's not going to be super expensive. We're not going to make money off it or anything, or a little.
Or if you would prefer a Rantcast Mankini.
No, I don't want. You can
#PaulKini.
At Ed, that was fully just send Mankini related requests to Ed. He can deal with that department. The other thing that people want is a Rantcast live event. Now that you've shown your face on a national newspaper website, Edward, this is
Yes. But funny thing about that is I did about half an hour of filming and they cut me down to about 30 seconds of total content, which might say something about the quality of the content.
Maybe so. But producer Tom has presumably not cut this down to 30 seconds, so thank you for being with us this hour. Thank you for being with us for the season ahead. I hope it's a brilliant one for United. We'll be here, rain or shine, happiness or sadness, win or loss, or any other possible outcome. Ramos or Otamendi or Jones will be here.
Yeah, we will be. And if we're not, we're probably at a Taylor Swift concert.
See you next week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.